What I love about marketing is that it really blends the art to the science. It's the perfect combination. You do have to have the right creative. You have to be able to identify the trends and know what is the messaging that hits. And it's not, I think for a brand of our size at 50 million, it's no longer like, what's the best one and shut off everything. Instead, it's what is above our goal. And then the things that are above the goal are just supplemental to the best one. And so we keep multiple angles, we keep multiple funnels active, and we aren't just trying to drive all of our spend into the thing that's driving the most performance, but we're having a sort of a mixed distribution of spend across the board, as long as it's hitting the goals.
This is Limited Supply, the place for refreshingly real takes on what D2C is really like.
We're your hosts, Nik and Moise. Let's start talking about money.
Have you ever heard of Red Stag Fulfillment? They're one of the only 3PLs that we're a fan of, and I'll tell you why. They're backed by 3 performance guarantees with their clients. 0 shrink, 0 mispicks, and 0 missed shipments. In fact, if they miss one of those guarantees, they fix it at no cost to you, of course. But they'll also pay you $50 per instance for the inconvenience. If you want to learn more, check out redstag.com/limited. Welcome back to Limited Supply. This is episode 3 of season 8. And today's actually a different one. We are live at the Whalies. The Whalies is the conference that Triple Whale put together to bring together some different folks, different sizes of brands. I had a conversation with Bryan Cano, who is the CMO or VP of marketing at Nood, Nood.com, if you want to check out their site. They basically sell the like a laser hair removal tool. And with Nood, what was interesting was they do, mid 8 figures. They spend a ton of money every month. So I got to sit down with Bryan and just ask him a bunch of questions about how he thinks about allocation of spend, attribution, creative testing, what works, what doesn't work. It's a fun 30-minute conversation. Moise wasn't able to make it. He was traveling, but I hope you enjoy this conversation. If you've got any questions of anything that was spoken, feel free to DM me or DM Bryan on Twitter. And that's it. I hope you enjoy the episode.
All right. What's going on, guys? So today we're going to talk about buttholes. And I'm very excited. We've got Bryan here, who's a good friend and VP of marketing at Nood. Bryan, do you want to give a quick background on yourself?
So I come from the ad tech world. I used to work at a company called Cargo, where I was overseeing media strategy and efficacy. And I ended up leaving that world to go in-house brand side and join Nood to oversee the marketing efforts. So Nood is a bootstrap brand. We went from $0 to $60 million in less than 2 years. We're in the personal care space, but we've really been able to grow the business through hair removal, hence the open commentary there. We're really all about making people feel confident in their own skin in the Nood. And we are just really grateful for the successes the brand has had and really just making memorable ads that get the conversation started and make sure that people at least remember the brand and remember that they've seen one of our ads before.
So Bryan, I heard from Sam that last month you spent almost $500,000 on TikTok with a 0.5 ROAS. Do you care to explain yourself?
This is my make or break moment in my career here. So definitely raises some eyebrows from finance and leadership at the fact that we were able to invest so much into a platform like TikTok, which has a reported ROAS of 0.5. It raises eyebrows. For us, the way we've been able to expand into new channels has really been focusing on upper funnel metrics. Using Triple Whale, they've been able to give back cost per add to carts, first click ROAS, the percentage of new site visitation. And I think those metrics are crucial for a platform like TikTok. So we were able to basically create our own MTA model, and that MTA model gave us a point of reference on what the first click ROAS should be for TikTok. And when we saw that it was comparable to Facebook, it was like, okay, this is something that's driving as much awareness in terms of volume as Meta. We should double down, triple down on it. We had a winning concept with a founder video, which Sam is a part of in the start end. We're trying to make him TikTok famous. This asset had just had a lot of longevity. So we were able to scale it up, contrary to what the reported number was on TikTok, which was a horrible ROAS. This is something that's been raised to the TikTok product teams, but I think the learning and the lesson there was that you can't trust what the platforms tell you. Even Meta, really the numbers should be used as something that's relative and directional, but using third-party tools and being able to triangulate what is actually driving positive business outcomes is crucial. And that's what it allows you to not get misguided by what the platforms are telling you.
Have you ever thought about using different attribution models for different channels?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I do it across the campaign level too. So if you were to take a look at our Meta ad account, it can terrify some people. It's both simple but complex at the same time. So we have campaigns that will do whitelisting advertising and we'll do articles and reviews from these other parties. And what we found is that some of these funnels and these pieces of content, they just perform so much better lower funnel or middle funnel. And so when we are assessing the performance and the success of these new tactics, we really do have to find like where is this contributing to the bottom line? Is this getting people in through the front door? Or is this getting people that are on the fence about buying the product to convert? And so when we are looking at different tactics across Meta, for example, we are absolutely changing our attribution window up. Not even the attribution setting, but the actual window itself from 1 day click to 7 day click to 14 or 28.
Which one do you use most often?
There's two that I go back and forth with. The first one is first click 1 day click. And then using GA4 and Triple Well provides this as well in the 3.0 dashboard, you can ask like what is the amount of time lapsed between first touch and first purchase for TikTok, for Facebook, for Google. And what we found is that the majority of our customers are buying the product within 7 days, right? Within a week. And so I use first click as basically a proxy for how is today performing. And then I use 7 day click as a lagging indicator to know if I'm trending up or down. So if something is looking really bad on a 1 day click view, but on a 7 day view or 7 day click, it's looking incredible, I'll keep it on. I may not be as aggressive with my budget. I may not increase the spend 30% that day, but I'll maintain or I might do a more conservative 10% increase in spend and use that as guidance.
If you were to think about like everything that you're doing, right? How much of it is a science and analytics and math of the things you're talking about right now versus an art around like just have the best creative?
This is what I love about marketing. When I went, in college, I was going to school for civil engineering. Civil engineering is not a very artistic career path. It's very data driven. And what I love about marketing is that it really blends the art to the science. It's the perfect combination. You do have to have the right creative. You have to be able to identify the trends and know what is the messaging that hits. And it's not, I think for a brand of our size at 50 million, it's no longer like, what's the best one and shut off everything. Instead, it's what is above our goal. And then the things that are above the goal are just supplemental to the best one. And so we keep multiple angles, we keep multiple funnels active, and we aren't just trying to drive all of our spend into the thing that's driving the most performance, but we're having a sort of a mixed distribution of spend across the board, as long as it's hitting the goals. And you have to know what is the artistic side and the creative that's driving this performance, but then also being able to identify the trends of those different creatives and using the data that platforms like Meta, GA4, or Triple Well provide you to know if you're trending up or down and then taking advantage. The thing that we forget about marketers, at the end of the day, we're just seeking arbitrage. Whether it's arbitrage for attention or a platform or a CPM, what you're doing is you're trying to capitalize on an opportunity or a window that you have. And that window could be a day, it could be a week, a month, a year. But identifying that you have that window to then double down on it, especially in periods like Q4, where your window might be a few hours, knowing that from, let's say, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. is the highest conversion rate that you have in Q4, you need to be on top of that and using that data to then guide your decision making.
Speaking of arbitrage, where are you finding arbitrages right now? Is Meta still a majority of your channel mix?
It is, and we have an effort internally to move away from that. I think, look, Meta is king. Meta, they've built an incredible platform that it truly does an exceptional job at identifying customers. So I think it'll always be the majority of the mix for the majority of brands. However, we've been dabbling into TikTok. TikTok has been incredible. It's grown to be our second largest channel for us. Contrary to what the platform attributes, we've been able to identify and be able to measure accordingly to make TikTok a valuable channel that we can confidently invest in without raising concern from CEO or finance. YouTube is where we're looking next for arbitrage, as well as using connected TV for creative testing and using those creatives for linear. That's something that excites me a ton, because with linear, when you look at the CPM rates of linear, your jaw drops. Just to throw some numbers out here, I know brands that are running linear ads and they're getting open inventory and they're running like $2 CPMs versus $20 to $30 CPMs on Meta. So when you're talking about running TV advertising and you're able to take advantage of those low CPMs, it is incredible arbitrage opportunity, as well as just credibility. I think the majority of consumers still believe and still have this perception of TV as something that's out of reach for big brands that have quote unquote made it.
Does Snap or Pinterest, does that make it into your channel mix, even at a small budget?
At a small budget, cumulatively, they're both 5% of our media mix. We've been able to find some wins on Snap, and we're running a pretty cool alpha coming up. Unfortunately, I can't speak to it, but Snap is definitely investing in their performance marketing solutions. They know that they're not the best, but they do have incrementality. They have incremental customers. Our core demo, pretty much sits 30 plus. It's very broad. Yet with Snapchat, I'm seeing that first click ROAS and the channel overlap being less than 20% between Snapchat, TikTok, and Meta. So, platform like Snapchat is definitely up there. It'll probably not scale to the size of TikTok or Facebook. And then Pinterest is on there as well. However, with Pinterest, the consideration cycle is significantly longer. And so the way we execute our deployment of channels, being that we're such a lean and small team, it's really about what has the biggest alpha with the least amount of effort. Pinterest being a channel that has a high consideration period, yes, we can activate it, but we just don't have the time and bandwidth to wait around. So I would rather focus and double down on a channel like TikTok or Snapchat, for example, and maximize and optimize those channels, and then get to Pinterest and sort of work my way down the list.
And I'm curious, like if you were to summarize for Meta, Snap, TikTok, and Pinterest, do you have any creative best practices? Because a lot of times you see brands just carry ads over from one platform to another, which is terrible. But I'm curious what you see on your side.
You, as a marketer, have to be a consumer of the media that you're advertising in. The example that him and I were talking about was, well, look, if we wanted to run a billboard in New York, or do some out-of-home advertising in New York, we're not New Yorkers. We don't live in New York. We're from Austin, Texas. So
not yet.
We not yet, yeah. So we are the least qualified people to make a decision on whether or not the right location, the right messaging, the right creative makes sense for, an out-of-home advertising in New York City. And the same goes true with digital media. If you are going to advertise on Snapchat, Pinterest, TikTok, TV, you need to be a consumer of that media to understand what is the societal cues, the culture, the way that media is defined, because at the end of the day, what you're doing with the creative is you're creating the assets that are native to that medium. When we are running TikTok ads, we found, yes, we could totally port over the assets from Meta into TikTok, and that worked for a little bit, very short amount of time. But we found that we had significantly more longevity out of those creative assets for TikTok when we actually made TikTok ads. When we literally made TikTok stuff that could be posted on organic, like an organic team was making, and then we just ran them as ads through Spark Ads on the profile, that has an insane amount more longevity than just porting over assets. And the same is true with Snapchat and Pinterest, especially a platform like Pinterest, where Pinterest, you really are just giving sort of infographics and information, and you're educating the consumer and you're priming the consumer, but Pinterest is not going to be the driving force for that sale. It's the sort of the upper funnel activity that's getting people ready to convert when they see that Meta ad or that TikTok ad later on.
Cool. Okay. That leads me into something that I believe is true, but other people don't seem to agree, especially other people at large companies, which is, whenever we talk to large companies, they want to run awareness ads or brand awareness. They want to get more awareness in the market. They look at this stupid graph that some Salesforce-like company gives them that says, they only have 6% of the market or whatever. I've always thought it's such a waste of money. Like, I think website clicks, campaigns, unless you're spending so much money on conversions, website clicks, in my opinion, is a waste of money. Those are people that come click to your site and they never do anything. And then you go even up or higher and you do the awareness ads, and it's like Facebook is just like, oh, these idiots are giving us money for awareness. Let's show it to the people who are never going to care about this brand anyways because they're cheap to show ads to. But the people that actually will convert later, let's save them for conversion ads. That's my theory on Facebook. And whenever I think about running top of funnel, for example, like let's say Nood launches in a big retailer, right? And we want to run some upper funnel awareness. I always think about, how do we build a lander that has some sort of an event on the lander that qualifies this person as, okay, they're actually, not only did they see the brand, they registered that, but then they click to go to a store locator or they click to download a coupon or whatever it may be. But I would set that as the conversion and run the campaign with a conversion objective. Is that how you would go about top of funnel?
Absolutely. I mean, I have a wishy-washy answer here, unfortunately, because I have ran traffic campaigns and I've been able to find success with them. However, I'm not looking at Meta ROAS. I'm looking at that first click, and I'm looking at a tool like Triple Whale. I'm looking at the cost per new site visitor, right? And I'm taking the number of new sessions and I'm multiplying it by the bounce rate. And then I'm dividing that by the spend to understand basically a custom metric of what I would call qualified site visitors. Because when you do run those traffic and those upper funnel metrics, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we have to remember that Meta is a for-profit business and they have ad inventory. Not every user converts and they need a way to monetize that inventory. So you're going to get bad traffic. You're going to get people that have no reason to be on your website. And so, discounting or at least removing away things like bounce rate, for example, or having your time on site or pages per session as proxy metrics to then guide whether or not you're driving qualified traffic is important. That aside, what you called out is significantly more advanced. And I think a lot of brands struggle with that because of the technical requirements, right? Brands are across different sizes. You're going to have a brand that doesn't have the resourcing to create that landing page, to create that custom event, to then optimize towards that event. That is the right way to do it. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the big brand that then has to file a JIRA ticket to get that custom page built. That's going to take about 2 weeks or 2 months because there's a backlog of projects. And so it does take a little bit of more work and effort. But I do believe, and I agree with you, that you should always optimize towards an event, even if it's as simple as a duration on site. So Google Tag Manager, if you use that for your pixel, you can set it up so that you fire a custom event only for people that have been on the website for more than 10 seconds, or for the people that scrolled more than 50% of the page. So being able to optimize towards those events at minimum, or a button click is incredibly valuable to just get the algorithm to go after more of the people that you want that are taking action on your website versus just a bunch of bounce rates.
A lot of times on Limited Supply, you hear us talking bad about 3PLs. And it's because they just make so many mistakes or they're just not founder friendly. But let me tell you about one that is, and that's called Red Stag. This year to date, they are at a 99.993% accuracy across inbound inventory, order accuracy, and on-time shipping. In fact, during a recent complete inventory audit, Red Stag conducted for one of their clients across 10,000 pallet locations and 200,000 units, they had a 99.999% inventory accuracy. And yes, they wrote a check for the 0.001% shrink. That's the beauty of Red Stag. They promise you zero shrink, zero mispicks, and zero misshipments. And if they're wrong, not only do they fix it, but they'll pay you for that. If you want to learn more, visit redstag.com/limited. How valuable do you think for newer brands it is to go out and get press and actually even maybe just earned media in general? Like, do you think that you can still build a brand just off the back of running lower funnel performance ads? Or do you think that a brand needs to go out there, get earned media, be talked about kind of in the zeitgeist, in the press, and then start running ads?
I believe that you can create a business that makes money just running lower funnel activity. I do not believe that you can make a brand without seeking that press. So yes, you can turn profit, you can drive sales, you can make revenue just running lower funnel activity and capturing people that are already in market. But if you truly want to build a resilient brand in the business, I do think that you need that PR. You need the credibility. You need to show consumers that you can trust, that they can trust your brand, your product, that it actually works, that the problems that you're solving are real and are making an impact on people's lives. Without that, you have a business, right? And it could be a successful business, but I think that you're going to hit a ceiling. And some people are okay with that, and that's totally fine. But if you truly want a business that's resilient, that can stand the test of time, I do think that you need that press, and you need to invest in that sort of press and activity.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that also is the difference between the ad accounts I see that have a $40 CPM and a $17 CPM, is the ones that have the 17 have done all that work of like the brand awareness, the seeding, the listicles, et cetera. Okay, now I'm curious, going back to a point earlier, if we gave you a $250,000 budget to drive in-store sell-through, how would you do that?
We're going to take a page out of Ridge's book, and we're going to give away a Ford Raptor. I'm just kidding. No, $250,000 to do sell-through. Well, I would want to grab a list of stores that we're in, understand the footprint of those stores, the location, whether or not we have that inventory, understanding the store distribution as well. Like, are these A+ stores? Are these B stores or C stores?
And what does that mean exactly?
So yeah, great question. Retailers, not all stores perform the same, right? So retailers will have stores and locations that are their flagship, they're A+ or AA+. And those are the stores that attract the high household income customer. They move units incredibly fast. They're just always in demand. Marketing for them is not an issue. They're going to just organically move units and sales. You have, a step down from that, your B stores. The B stores are going to be the stores that need a little bit more effort. They're not at risk. They're not problematic, but they do need that extra oomph, maybe a weekly flyer, a print circular or coupon that gets mailed to people's houses is enough to get people into the store. And then you move down the grade, and it's different for every brand and retailer. But a C store is sort of your problem child. Those are the stores that just aren't turning units as much. They're at risk. They're harder to move inventory. Maybe the target audience isn't there for you. So, if I'm giving that budget, the first thing I'm doing is assessing what is the distribution of the stores, how many B stores versus C stores versus A stores do I have, knowing my target customer. Are my customers going to C stores? Are they going to B stores? And then I would divide that budget up accordingly. For us specifically, I wouldn't need to support A stores. I would probably set aside like 10% of the budget there. I would probably set aside 50% of my budget to the B stores, and I would set the remaining 40 to my C stores. And I would probably do segmented campaigns targeting people that are within a 5-mile radius of those stores, and really just driving to a landing page with a store locator button, optimizing towards that event, capturing some sort of email or PII, and then texting people with an offer to go to those stores. And I would be, by sort of segmenting the stores into A, B, and C, you can then play around with your budget to see, am I moving more units in B's and C's? Or you know what, A is crushing it. Let me just pull back budget there and move it into B. So it allows you to de-risk versus looking at everything in a sort of monolith. You're able to have a little bit more control and flexibility on where to invest more.
When you're driving media for retail, is it as easy to ramp up and down as it is when you're just talking about D2C? Like, for example, is there a world where Meta has issues with the D2C side of the business and you can be like, well, let's move, $250,000 over to the retail side? Like, is it that quick?
No. I wish it was. And for those that don't know, so Nood is in Best Buy and in Target. We are online and in store. So omnichannel is something that's still very new to us. We're exploring it out. To answer your question, no, retail is Titanic. It takes a lot of effort to get that ship moving. And then once it's moving, the momentum that it has is kind of insane. And so if you need that shift in direction, whether it's speeding up or slowing down, there is sort of this halo effect that's in play, and it takes weeks before you see the results. So no, I from my experience, and I think the maybe the retailers that we're with and the brand, it is not simple. It's not very nimble. With Meta, I can shut the ads off today and I can start them next week or even tomorrow. And it's as if the business had no dark periods. We're able to exit learning phase quite quickly. We have the right funnel, the right strategy. With retail, you are trying to establish that connection between online and in-store. And for some people, they don't do their shopping until end of week, or maybe they're waiting until payday, or other events in life occur that don't allow them to go into that store and buy.
Awesome. All right, before we wrap up soon, I want to know what is in the Nood tech stack. So you guys have bootstrapped this business mid 8 figures, we can say. And I'm curious so you're on Shopify. What else do you guys use in your tech stack?
Yeah, I mean, I'll preface by saying we are a very lean team. We're a frugal company. We are very serious about ensuring that there's no waste. And I got to give mad props to Sam. Every quarter, we're reviewing every single app, and if it's not ROI positive, if it's not something that's getting used, or if maybe we have too many seats, it's getting cut. It could be something as like a $50 charge a month, right? Something that seems insignificant to many in the room, but we'll cut it because it stacks up. And maybe that's $50 this month, but what about over the course of 3 years? That money adds up, right? So in my tech stack, we were serious about ROI. We just recently moved over to SendLane. The team at SendLane has been incredible. I think Jimmy did give a presentation earlier today, and the thing that excites me the most and that we're seeing a lot more traction on is the connectivity between email and SMS, and having that tagging feature so that if someone is or is not engaging with an email, you can follow up appropriately with a personalized message through SMS. That's brilliant. So we've got SendLane. Marpipe has been an incredible partner for us as well. As a brand like Nood, if you've seen our ads, you've probably gotten different iterations or versions of headlines and images and just the creative in general. That's us A/B testing and finding the messaging that gets the most engagement, and then using that to fuel our videos. But Marpipe's been a very helpful partner to ideate and basically, with being the media buyer of the company, very quickly deploying those assets. Nostra has been a great partner for us as well. Nostra was a gamble for us before Q4. So Sam met Arthur, and the week before, Sam's like, hey, we're adding this to the website. And I was like, I'm sorry, you're doing what? Do you realize it is the week before Black Friday? You are not making website changes right now. Don't do this to me. And we moved forward with it, and I ate my words. We had done a lot with CRO testing and trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. The single biggest alpha that a brand can have is in their site speed. So improve your site speed, increase your standard or your baseline, and then do the CRO stuff, because then you're building off of the best experience that you possibly can have, versus trying to build off of a low site speed experience, which is probably causing bounce rates or could be affecting your CPMs. Speaking of sites, Format's been great as well. Format is a platform that we've been using for landing page testing. So again, being a small team, we don't have like a dedicated developer that's like there on call. So with Format, we're able to test different messages, different angles, and have that continuity between the ads that we're testing and the landing pages that we're testing. And then I think the last tool that comes to mind is heat maps. Heat maps and Amped are both tools that are on my pipeline to explore.
Is that heat maps or heatmap.com?
Heatmap.com. Thank you. So we've been using Clarity, but back on the notion of site speed, I've been seeing and hearing that Microsoft Clarity, tools like Microsoft Clarity, they're great, but they do slow down your website. So excited check out hemaps.com and see if we can get the same benefits and then some without the slower site speeds. And then Amped to have a pop-up experience to improve opt-ins and really continue to build our email list and subscriber list. So that's generally our tech stack, and we're constantly assessing. So I guess this is an open invite. If you have a tool that is ROI positive and you have the case studies to support it, shoot over your pitch at bryan@nood.com.
Amazing.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss the next one.